I'm Mark Mancini with VRBO Outstanding. In this week's episode, we're going back to the topic from our very first video, which is pools, some of the new technologies in pool heaters and autofill, so be prepared for a big splash. So welcome back this week. I took a few weeks off from my YouTube videos because I'm recording a brand new course on the 12 key steps to weather a bad economy or a recession that we're facing with people that just aren't booking your homes as much. So I've got 12 great secrets. We have a course coming out this summer. You're gonna love it. Now, let's first talk about pools because it's been over a year since our first episode on pools, and I wanna go over a couple key things people always ask about. Autofills and pool heaters. So let's first talk about autofills. Back in our first episode, we talked about the poor man's autofill. This is a $15 timer that attaches to your water spigot, and basically you adjust the time, how much time you want the faucet to be on or the hose to be on to fill your pool up. And depending on the number of gallons you need, after a while of doing it, you know if you need an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours to help fill the pool up. This is a very cost-effective method, but it's a manual method, okay? So your pool person who comes out once a week, or you will have to come out, drop the hose in the water, set the timer on, make sure it gets to a good level, and then when you're done, reel up the hose and put it away. Now, this has been fine for a couple of years, but in the Florida Keys, and many of you in Florida and hot areas like the Carolinas and so forth, that this hot sun will evaporate the water more quickly than you can refill it once a week when your pool guy comes out. So I've looked at a new system. It's from Kona Labs, K-O-N-A Labs, and it's an autofill sensor. Now, some of you had good pool installers and maybe have installed a Jandy type pool system. Jandy is a brand name. They've got an autofill, auto level meter that will autofill your pool with water, and that's a great thing to do when they build your pool. But how do you retrofit something like that? And that's where it gets hard. And this is a very cost-effective way. I want to say it was about $800. And let's take a look here in the corner. So the Kona Labs device, it comes in multiple parts. Now there's this part right here, and this is the water sensor. And what this does, it wakes up every 30 minutes and checks the water level. And if it needs water, it'll tell the base, which we're going to go to in just a minute, and it'll fill it up with water. Now, right now I'm training it for the water height, so I'm raising the water level to a higher level than it is at now, so that we can train the device to properly fill the pool to the level that we want it at, which is much higher than that. So that is one part of the device. That attaches with, they give you an epoxy to attach it to, but I opted to use 5200. 5200 is a bond, many of you know about it. It'll stick, it's like a white epoxy, but it's not really an epoxy because you're not blending two pieces together. It's more of like a silicone. It dries underwater. So if you're a boater, you know about this. You want to put something under the water, doesn't matter if you're underwater, it'll still stick. It's a great way to put it on, and then it just comes off with a spatula or a knife. So if you ever have to remove it, you can. You just have to be very careful. Now we're going to go back to where our pool equipment is, and I'm going to go ahead and show you the other half of that receiver, and we're also going to talk about pool heaters and pool coolers, because some of you may have pools that are very hot in the summer and you want to cool it off, and sometimes throwing a big block of ice in there isn't the easiest thing or most cost-effective way to do it. A recent thing we added was a sign that says do not touch the pool equipment. Strongly suggest having a sign like this near your pool equipment. You do not want guests to touch it. Also, two other things. In our rental agreement, we state in there, do not touch the pool equipment. This will result in your immediate removal from the property, because there are things in here that are set just right. Maybe the timer on the lights or different things. In fact, if you look over here, I'll swing around. We even have a camera on the pool equipment to ensure that, if someone does fool with it, we do have it on record. Now, I have the locks removed because we're doing some work on this unit. This is the timer for our pool filter, and that's the timer for our pool lights. Once we leave the property though, we're gonna put those locks back. I strongly suggest locks with a numerical code, not a key, so that this way you're not held hostage to where the key is located. If your pool guy needs it, if your property manager needs it, we key all of the locks to the same code. It's a code that we use for management. So our door codes for our cleaners, our locks are all that same number. It makes it easy to go ahead and give out that code for those people who need it, and never ever to a guest. Now, this Kona Labs piece, we actually had my nephew come help me install it. We had to install another 110 outlet because it does require a power for a plug. So it's just a 110 plug-in. We tapped off that device. And over here, this is the AC adapter. We just attach that right to the concrete wall. And then this is the brains or the controller. Now this attaches to the power. It also, they want you to adhere this to the wall. I'm just for now leaving it down here. I don't see real need to attach it to the wall at this point, but that is your controller. And that also has a wire that goes all the way down, follows the black wire to the red wire, and it goes right here to a leaking controller for a couple of reasons. We tapped off of you can see this clear line here is a PEX line. We tapped off of a main, and we have a shut-off switch on it. And we came in here, we went from PEX into PVC, and basically that attachment isn't holding as well as we'd like it to hold. So we're gonna have to reevaluate that next week, and when my nephew's down, we'll put in a different type of fitting. But that right there, that black device, is your controller that turns the water on and off to allow water to fill your pool up. Okay, so that sensor in the pool will go ahead and detect the water level. It'll reach over here to this Kona Labs brain, so to speak, with the wireless, and it'll turn on the controller to allow water into the pool and shut it off as needed. So that Kona Labs, we're gonna have a link for you down below. If you want an autofill and you don't want to do the manual method we just showed you with the timer, I'll give you the link for that. Like I said, they're about $800. It's the only one I've seen, and like I said, it's under $1,000. It seems to work real well. There is no app for it. It's strictly communicating right here and does it for you without touching it or doing anything. One thing there is an app for is the only pool heater I'd recommend, and this is an Aquacal. Now they're made here in Florida, which is great if you're in the Southeast. So the Aquacal, I'm gonna show you real quick over here. This is the pool sync. So the pool sync is the wireless controller and app that you have an iPhone and Android that will turn your pool heater on and off when you're not on the property. So if a guest wants to pay for pool heat, and I've had this discussion with many people, there is a cost to this. These are several $1,000s for the unit, then you have installation, and you've got the electrical cost to turn them on. Now, in the app, you could put in your rate for your kilowatt hours for electricity, and it'll tell you how much it costs to run it. I'm gonna tell you, heating pool for a week is gonna cost you easily $150 to $200. We charge, and we have always charged, $350 a week for the past 11 years, whether it was in South Carolina or Florida. Florida people don't really need it as much. It's probably a smaller window like December, January, but oftentimes people want pool heat. We use our remote app, whether it's this one or another one we're gonna talk about, and we turn it on for the week, and then we turn it off when they're gone. That was $135 attachment. The wire goes into your Aquacal. It's basically 4 wires. You can't mess it up. I think it was black, red, green, and yellow. Real easy, goes right in, and then you just attach it with the app. Real easy installation. You don't need an electrician to do it. Now, why do I like the Aquacal pool heater? As you can see here, it's a chiller and a heater. So if your pool is really hot and you want to cool it off, it'll actually chill the pool as well. These things, I've had one in my house in South Carolina. I've had for over a decade, and the thing runs great. They're designed for salt air. They take a beating. I do also suggest that some preventive maintenance. You get some salt away from West Marine, and you spray the unit down every so often, right in here in the coils, just to try to get the salt away, because the salt will damage the metal. You'll start seeing corrosion on it. So that salt away does a great job. Again, you'll also see there is a lock on this. It's the same numeric code as the other ones. This prevents the panel from coming down. This is the control panel here, which changes the temperature and turns it on and off. We do not want guests to fiddle with the pool heater, okay? Because you can put this thing up to about 95, I think, or 98 degrees. We don't need that or want that. We don't want to pay for that. So we lock that up. Pool heaters are actually pretty easy to install. If you pay a pool guy to do it, they're probably going to charge you a couple $1,000s. We did this in literally a couple hours. The hardest part was picking it up and putting it on the concrete blocks. But PVC pipe in and out, it's real easy to do. It's not rocket science. And then you power it over to your power that you have, and that was this whip right here. We ran it over to an electrical panel right over here. I believe that's a 220. So 220 is going to get the pool heated faster than the 120. Definitely a good choice to go with. Now, let's say you bought a house and Aquacal pool heater wasn't there like we did. Our other house, Heart Murata, had a Thermo, which is a Canadian heater. Not my first choice. Now, Thermo has an app to turn the pool heat on and off, but you have to buy all these additional parts from Pentair or Jandy, and it was going to be about $2,000 to $3,000 for the parts and then installation, just to have remote control capabilities. I thought that was a bunch of hogwash. So for about $700 or so, I got something called Heater Reader, and we talked about this in a previous episode. Basically, it was a landscape lighting, landscape irrigation box, a little bit bigger than this, mounts on the wall, and the component goes in there. Simple AC power, and then it has a couple other attachments. It's got 2 wires to the Thermo heater, or whatever brand heater you have. It'll work with almost any heater, because most of them are just 2 wires, turn it on and off. And then also too, you've got 2 temperature sensors, an air or ambient temperature sensor and a water sensor. And how they did that was, this is not for the faint of heart, you drill a hole in here, put the sensor in, and you clamp it over it. I was faint of heart, I'll be honest. I had my pool guy come and do it, and it was real easy though. You drill a hole in it with the water turned off, you drop the sensor in, you clamp it. Installation was not long. The one thing I will tell you about Heater Reader, and we're gonna have a link for that Heater Reader below, is that sometimes it'll lose the communication to the Wi-Fi. And to fix that, you have to unplug the AC power for several seconds and plug it back in. When you're remote, you can't do that, or you have to tell the guest to do it. I don't like doing that. Real simple solution. For about 15 bucks, you get one of those outdoor Wi-Fi outlet controllers. It plugs into the AC power. It's got 2 outlets. You plug it in, and then with your app, you can control turning it on and off. Okay, so if I ever get a communication error with the sensor or with the heater reader, all I do is I hit the power to the Wi-Fi controller. It turns off the power to the heater reader. Several seconds later, I turn it back on. Boom, magically restored. Again, I don't like that I have to do that, but just be smart, use the technology and do it. Now, we talked about the pool heaters, the pool coolers, and we talked about auto-filling your pool. We talked about it in a few other episodes. I strongly encourage a couple things. Remember, your signed rental agreements should have waivers about the pool. Also, you should have a note in there, not allow dogs in the pool, because there'll be a black film, if they use the pool a lot, on top of the water around the pool. So you definitely want to make sure that you tell guests no dogs in the pool. Also, no glass near their pool, because if you get broken glass in your pool, you have to drain the entire pool and refill it. It's going to cost you thousands of dollars. Make sure you spell that out in your signed rental agreement. You should also have depth signs on your pool. Now, if you don't have it because of the way it is aesthetically, like what we have here with just travertine coping all around, we have on our Nixplay device, and we did a whole episode on Nixplay. Every single one of you should have at least 1 Nixplay in your homes. We've got 2, 1 for each house. And in there, we've got visuals of the rules. We've got a picture of a dog in the pool. It says dogs not allowed in pool. We also mentioned about no glass in the pool. We also have one that has a picture of a person diving into a pool with a red line through it in a circle, and it says no diving, only 5 feet. You just have to put that in there. Make sure you cover yourself. Now, pools, I've never had an issue, thankfully, knock on travertine coping, but you want to make sure you protect yourself and offer it to guests, because pools, they sell. People want to go on vacation and be on a pool. Another key thing I'm going to leave you with is an outdoor shower. When people smother themselves with sunscreen and everything else, you don't want them to just jump in the pool because it'll mess with the chemicals and the water. So we have an outdoor shower. I strongly suggest you have one too. In fact, our other homes also have outdoor showers, so the guests can not only take that stuff out, but if they're out in the ocean, you don't want them to go in the ocean and then come back into your pool right away, because that'll introduce black algae into your pool. You want them to shower before they enter back into your pool. So always have an outdoor shower available. They're real easy to install. It doesn't have to be elaborate, but they will get a lot more use than you can ever imagine. I take my showers here every day outside. It's just really cool to have, but for the pool, it's an absolute must. And again, you're gonna have a guest coming back for your pool, so make sure you provide the great experience with them. And one more last thing, I'm gonna sneak this in. This is a VRB outstanding secret. In your NixPlay device, and also in your information you email to your guests before they even arrive, about 2 weeks before, you let them know what day your pool guy comes and about what time, so that they're aware someone's on their property and be going in their pool to check the pH levels and skim everything out. That's this week's episode of Pools Revisited. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for another new mini course that we'll be offering this summer, and we'll see you again next week. Remember, hit like, subscribe below, and always ask questions and comments, and we'll see you again.